Coming up this week on In Your Community, we're at the 2014 Netroots Nation convention, where the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, delivers a speech to the city of Detroit. Coming up this week on In Your Community. We're out here at the 2014 Netroots Nation convention in downtown Detroit, and in just a matter of hours, the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, will be delivering a keynote speech to the city of Detroit. We're out here at the 2014 Netroots Nation convention, and we're here with Miss Mary Rickles right now. So, Miss Rickles, what exactly is the Netroots Nation campaign?
Netroots Nation is the largest gathering of progressives in the country each year. We have about 3,000 people coming to Detroit this weekend for the sole purpose of connecting and strategizing and just talking to each other about the work that they're doing.
Okay. Now, why did Joe Biden choose this event to come talk at?
Well, I think that a lot of leaders in D.C. come to Netroots Nation because they know that they need to engage this audience. The people who come to Netroots Nation are the folks who are knocking on doors, making phone calls, and doing a lot of the fundraising around the upcoming election cycle. And so, it's really important for folks like Joe Biden to engage the base, and I think that's what he's doing this weekend.
All right, how important is an event like this for the city of Detroit?
Well, I like to think that it's important. I mean, we chose Detroit largely because of all the amazing organizing that's been happening here. There's some really great local folks organizing around all kinds of issues, but primarily right now, a lot of folks are organizing around the water crisis and the water shutoff. So we are trying to do what we can to amplify the work that they're doing and to let people around the country know about the important issues that are happening here. So,
all right, thank you so much, Mary Rickles, PR rep of Netroots Nation. Today, Vice President Biden delivered a keynote speech on several topics to the city of Detroit at Cobo Hall. During his speech, Biden wasted no time in bringing up the latest breaking news of the Malaysian flight that was apparently shot down over Ukraine. He let us know he was on the phone with President Obama speaking of this tragedy where over 200 lives were reportedly lost. He thanked the city of Detroit for quote-unquote showing up and realizing that health care is a public right. Over the course of the speech, he thanked the crowd several times. He mentioned that the reason America is so different from other nations is because we are the only nation that realizes all people must be treated with dignity. He brought up the issue of food stamps and building our infrastructure and how it's equally, if not more important than funding our military. Making the tax code fair was another topic, and how important it was that Republicans voted to raise the top taxes on the top 1%. He stressed how important it is that everyone pays their fair share of taxes. He told the crowd they need to embrace change because we are at a turning point in our history right now. Men and women should be treated fairly, and he stressed that his granddaughters and daughters are equal with his sons and grandsons. He was interrupted by a group of immigrants screaming, "Stop deporting our families," during the speech, and he launched into a speech about the pain those families go through every day. With those families being deported, he called it a moral obligation to keep these families together in America. He stressed the importance of America's middle class and how it's making a comeback. Vice President Biden finished out his speech by saying, "Never bet against America, and the country needs its people at this time more than ever."
Netroots Nation, can all of you give a boisterous applause to the Vice President of the United States of America, Joe Biden?
We share a commitment to the values that made this country exceptional, and they're not confusing. I've traveled about 1 million miles now. I've met almost in the last 35 years, every major world leader. And when I get asked the question, what makes America so different, so exceptional? It's basic. It's a sense of fairness, a sense of justice, and a sense and a notion that equality, everyone is entitled to equality and be treated with dignity. And what I value most about you is your deep passion, driven by the concern for others as opposed to your self-interest. That's what distinguishes all of you. It's about others, not about you. And I say to you, and it's the last comment I'll make, believe in the American people. I know you're all really well educated, and there's a tendency among the highly educated, sophisticated population, Democrats and Republicans, to somehow think ordinary people, ordinary citizens, high school educated people, hardworking people, somehow they don't know what's in their own interest. Resist being so condescending. They're smarter than you are collectively. No. They know what their interest is. They can't articulate it the same way, but they know. So folks, my closing comment is, never bet against America. It has never been a good bet. Thank God we have you. Keep it going. Thanks for having me. See you.
And that wraps it up out here at the 2014 Netroots Nation Convention, where you just heard the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, give a keynote speech to the city of Detroit. We're out at the Henry Ford in Dearborn at the 2014 Maker Faire. We're here at the 2014 Makers Faire with Executive Vice President of the Henry Ford, Christian Overland. Now, Mr. Overland, what exactly is the Makers Faire?
Maker Faire in Detroit is a wonderful gathering of innovators, makers, people who love the do-it-yourself movement, and we have over 400 participants this year that have come in to really take the Henry Ford Museum and the Henry Ford to a whole new level of tinkering, hacking, and inventing.
All right, you mentioned taking the Henry Ford to the next level. What makes the Henry Ford such an ideal place for the Makers Faire to happen?
Well, think about Henry Ford himself. He was the original tinkerer. You know, as a boy, he played with watches, and then he came up with a motorized car. And he kept working and working. It's that perseverance and playing as well as doing. So we think having Maker Faire is a great opportunity because of our collections. They're all about innovation and the process of innovation. But also, it's a very playful way to innovate and learn about the past by actually creating new things and making those connections.
All right, now you mentioned innovation. What sort of innovations are happening here this year?
Well, I've seen some pretty cool things. So I've seen everything from women making jewelry with circuits that have solar cells on them. So picture a dragon butterfly that's lit up but has a solar cell on it. So even with an adapter to plug in your cigarette outlet inside your car or USB if you need to go out to a party. Things like that are personal innovations that are starting to get in the market. So the amazing things like the people who know about the Razor scooters and the Razor electric cars, the little ground drifters. There's a brand new one that came out this year and is inventors this year too. It's a new Razor race car. And so he's talking about drifting in a new way. It's a whole cool innovation for kids. And what's fascinating about it is it's introducing an adult-driven car, too.
We're here at the 2014 Makers Faire with the co-owner of Beagleboard. So what exactly is Beagleboard, for those who don't know?
So it's an open hardware computer for makers, about the size of an Altoids tin, with a ton of I/O capabilities. So it's got analog digital converters and pulse width modulators, but it's also got a really fast ARM processor that runs Linux. And so it's a computer, but it's also a microcontroller, and it lets you connect everything up to the internet and hook up to sensors, and you program it just like you'd program a web page or websites, right? So you just open up your web browser and you can start writing JavaScript and Python and everything right there in your web browser.
What exactly does U of M Dearborn have at the Makers Faire this year?
We brought two robots here. Both these are autonomous. They can drive by themselves. Of course, they're a bit too crowded here, so we control it with the Xbox 360 controller. This was in a recent competition called the IGVC. We came in second there. This is actually run by a club. So all the students who work on this, they do it. It's a labor of love for them.
We're out here at Maker Faire 2014 at the Chemistry is Fun booth. So what are you guys offering this year?
We're offering many different scientific demonstrations as well as hands-on activities to get the public engaged in chemistry. And this is everything from making your very own slime to liquid nitrogen demonstrations and color changes. And it's fun for everyone.
For this week on In Your Community, I'm Trevor Renner. Remember, there's always something happening in your community.